Before I get into this next story, I want to be crystal clear up front that if you think that this is something that could never, ever, 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 ever happen in the United States of America, then you're delusional, you're glib. We are already heading in this direction. And what's happening in Europe, what's happening in Australia, what's happening in New Zealand, what's happening in various Western societies, free societies across the globe, they are creeping in here. And all it's going to take is one series of elections that could turn our world upside down. And those who have ever dealt with challenges of children being taken away from parents who did essentially nothing wrong, well, you know that at least this is partially already here in the United States of America. We have the article over at discernreport.com. Church 3 times a week is now considered religious extremism in Sweden, and it's worthy of removing children from parents who, again, did nothing wrong otherwise other than basically just try to raise their kids the right way. According to the article, Sara and Tiana Samson have committed no crime, and neither have their parents. Swedish prosecutors said so themselves, but 3.5 years after a social worker pulled the 2 Romanian girls out of a classroom in Hässleholm, the Swedish state still refuses to give them back. 3.5 years. This is back in 2022 that this happened. And the reason that they offer the world is that their family went to church too often. On Friday, the scandal arrived on American soil, and I'm glad that it did, because otherwise I don't think this would have hit my radar. A crowd of Romanian-Americans gathered outside the Swedish Embassy in Washington to stand with Daniel and Bianca Samson, the Christian parents, who have been separated from their daughters since December of 2022. The rally was one of a coordinated series of demonstrations spanning Bucharest, Madrid, Rome, Copenhagen, Stockholm, London, and Brisbane, a global pressure campaign aimed at a government that has spent years pretending not to hear. And we're not talking about Iran or North Korea or China. This is Sweden. This is what the left likes to point to as, oh, see, everything's working so great over there. We should be mimicking them. They've got their stuff together. Really? Really. The facts of the case are not seriously in dispute. Sara, at the time she was 11, told officials at her school that her parents had abused her. She was angry they would not let her wear makeup or have a smartphone. Again, good parenting here. Within days, she admitted she had invented the story, and her younger sister, Tiana, confirmed it. Prosecutors investigated and found no evidence of abuse. In any sane system, that would have been the end of it. An unfortunate episode resolved by a child's confession and a clean police file. Instead, Swedish social services kept the girls. Pressed to justify the separation, officials pointed to the family's habits. They attended church 3 times a week. What? That's crazy. Again, good parenting. The girls did not paint their nails. The home had no television. The parents read their daughters Bible stories, which Daniel Samson says authorities characterized as violent. Out of these ordinary marks of a devout Christian household, the Swedish state constructed a charge of, quote, religious extremism and used it to keep the 2 little girls from their mother and father. And again, this has been going on for 3.5 years. Number one, first and foremost, the immediate need here is to do anything that we can to pressure the Swedish government to stop being stupid. Because this is stupid. It's idiotic. It's very clear, without knowing the parents, if this really is, they're pushing for religious extremism as the reason to keep these children separated from their parents, that's ludicrous. Especially in a state like Sweden that is quickly allowing itself to be conquered. Now imagine if this were a situation where Muslim children were taken from their parents because they were being forced to pray 5 times a day, which is a lot worse, of course, from a quote-unquote abuse perspective. I mean, it's not abuse, don't get me wrong. I'm not suggesting that's abuse. I'm just saying that if taking your kids to church 3 times a week and not having a television is abuse, then my gosh, what about the quote-unquote religious extremism from other faiths. This is just because they're Christians. We are being targeted. Believe it or not. You believe it. I don't care if the knot is out the door. It is happening. Christians worldwide are being targeted. Now, this has been the case in authoritarian countries for a very long time. But you're supposed to be free in places like Sweden or England or the United States to be a Christian and to practice your faith, to raise your children the right way. But that's not the case, obviously, in Sweden. So back to what do we do? Number one, we've got to, if you have any access to any form of pressure against the Swedish government, please invoke it. This is the time. This is when you call in a favor, so to speak. Otherwise, we do need to pray, obviously, for these little girls to be returned, for the Swedish government to not only stop this idiocy, stop it before it spreads, but to chastise those who thought it best for the girls to take them out of a home where they were clearly not being abused, where they were clearly being raised in a strict but non-abusive manner. Look, I get it. Some people think that the church itself is bad. But this is not one of those scenarios where some religious cult has them doing whatever. They can't paint their nails. They don't have smartphones. I mean, what would the Amish do if they were in Sweden? Probably go to jail. This one pisses me off, obviously, and that's why I bring it up. I don't know what else to say. I'm just that mad about it. I mean, I don't like those situations. There seems to be more and more lately where we see injustice and we can't. I'm getting choked up. When I get mad, my throat really tightens up. And this one does really chap my khakis. Yes, well, there's been so many of these popping up lately where it feels like we're helpless. What can we do to stop such injustice and to prevent attacks like these, attacks against the faith, from happening in America? We just being aware, that's part of it, I guess. Being ready to oppose such overreach. But again, most importantly, praying for some sort of intervention, whether that comes through a government or maybe within the Swedish government or whatever. Something needs to be done. These girls have been kidnapped. And Sweden, the government of Sweden, is guilty, in my humble opinion. They are guilty of kidnapping children from their parents simply because they were trying to raise their girls in a Christian fashion.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist.